How do you take your fabric scraps from this to this? Let me show you. Hi, it's Fran Morgan with Fabric Cafe. Are you looking for ideas to use up those leftover Christmas fabric scraps? Well, I've got 3 projects to do just that. So the first project that I would like to show you is this darling little ornament. Now what we've done is we've taken some of our metallic Christmas scraps and we've just made this little block. So let's talk about what we did to get to this point. The first thing is to review your pattern library. Now we chose to use our brand new Patriotic Pride pattern. Now this is a kind of a patriotic pattern, but it's perfect because our unit C here is a smaller square, so it's going to make the perfect ornament size. Now let's step through how we did that. What we did is we made just one of our unit C, and we just used our scraps, like I said, of this fun metallic kind of Christmassy fabric. Then we took a batting scrap, so this is a great way to use up some batting scraps too. We're just going to sandwich this on top, and then another scrap. Now remember, this is great because it matches, but if you don't have enough scraps to match, you don't have to do that either. Just another scrap for the back. And you can see here that we have cut all of these the same size, and we're just gonna line those up there. I would actually put a little safety pin in the middle just to kind of keep it from shifting. And then we are going to quilt in the ditch. Now I'm going to bring our completed ornament back over so that you can see what we've done is just stitched right along these little points of our star. It made it so cute. Now we have a great tutorial on Stitch in the Ditch, and we're popping the video up here, so go check that out. It goes through very detailed on how to do this. It's very simple and very fun to do. And on a little project like this, it's going to go super fast. After we do our little Stitch in the Ditch here, we're going to use a binding scrap, and we're going to just go around the edge and bind it just like you do any other quilt. And once again, there's lots of scraps on binding too, so it doesn't have to match, just coordinate. Perfect, easy to do. So now we have our ornament here, and we need to get a hanging loop on this, and we've chosen to put ours right in the corner. We've just hand tacked it here, very simple, and we actually used some scrap ribbons that we had in our stash. Now these ribbons were used for another project, so what we did is we took this ribbon here. You can see how it has the leaves on it. We didn't want the leaves, so we just trimmed them off, got a little strip and tacked that right on the back. So simple. Now, these little ornaments can be made in lots of different ways. We have this one that is made from one of our patterns from our On the Double book, and it's a little bit larger, but you see it really works well. I think these things made with your scraps are perfect. You could embroider something here for a new couple that maybe is getting married for Christmas and tuck it in a gift basket. Or of course, even your other quilting friends would probably love this. New home would be great on there as well. So these ornaments are super fast, super easy. Deck your own tree or give them as gifts. They're perfect. So you know, whenever you're quilting and you have a lot of these left over because you're trimming up the ends of your yards, I mean, look at all of these. We've got all these that you just trimmed off. What can we do with that? Well, we are going to make some absolutely adorable Christmas trees, and this is the simplest thing to do in the world. So we have 2 here. Let me just mention a couple of things. We can use our strips here from our fabric, and we can color coordinate them like we've done here and here, or you can use all those random strips. It works so well. So what do we need to do this? Well, the first thing you want to do is to get a styrofoam cone like this one, and you can find these at a local crafts shop or online or anything like that. Then of course we need all those scraps that you're saving, and then just some little different multicolor headed pins there. So let's start. So we've got our cone ready here, we've got some strips, and if you notice here, some of our strips are wider than others, and that's okay. You don't have to worry about the size, just whatever size you have is great. No measuring required whatsoever. The one tip that I will say is when you start, let's start on the bottom, and use your wider strips to start with. So I'm just gonna kind of put this right here. I'm gonna grab one of my pins, and I'm going to just start right on the bottom. You see how I kind of overlapped it there, and then I'm just going to wrap it, put another little pin to hold it. Now I'm not trying to measure how far apart the pins are. I just put a pin every time I need that fabric to be held down. Now once it's all on, you can go back and move them if you want to, or add a few extra if you want to. It's not a problem at all. And you're just going to go round and round this cone. And then as you get to the top, you're going to have the skinnier strips up here. That just helps to keep them lying flat and not sticking out too much. Now, these edges on these strips are not finished. They're going to have a little bit of unravel every once in a while, which is just fine, because if you look at our red and green tree here, you can see how there's a little bit of the raw edges on this. I think it's so cute that way. I think it just adds a little something. It's almost like you've put tinsel on your tree. Then as you can see, all the little colorful pins in here with those bright colored heads on those pins just look like little lights or maybe little ornaments on your tree. Absolutely darling. And of course we have our blue one here as well, all those different colored pins. And it is just so much fun. You know, I'm going to make some of these for my house too, because I just think they're absolutely darling. So this is how you're going to get rid of all those little bitty scraps. Have you ever finished making a quilt and you find that you have a strip assembly left over and you've got this piece and you're like, hey, I could have made more units from this? Well, I have a little trick and a great project to share with you. This is a leftover strip assembly that we had with some of our Christmas fabric. And what we did is we placed it on this great towel to just kind of create a little festive border of these little checkerboards. I thought it turned out cute. So let me show you what we've done here. We've taken our strip assembly. We have simply cut off a unit here. As you can see, we've got a couple of them here. We've just sliced those off like pizza. You know I like to say that because I like pizza. And then we've taken them and just turned them every other direction. We've sewn them together. Now we've put these together as wide as our towel. So now let me just mention, the measurement is not that important here. So if you don't have that much, you can do skinnier strips. So you could do half a strip. If your strip assembly is shorter or wider, it's still going to work. Use up that scrap strip assembly. It's going to be perfect. And you can see here what we have done is we have just stitched it on the border, and this is going to be a darling in your bathroom. I don't know about you, but one of the things I do like to decorate for Christmas is putting fun, festive hand towels in my bathroom. And this is a great way to do it, and you're using up those scraps. Now, I have another one I want to show you before I show you how to apply this. I have this darling Christmas tree. Love how this turned out, and I think this is so cute. So if you have scraps, I could even see these in different colors and your tree in different colors and just so many fun things. This one here is from our Christmas forest pattern, and of course the links will be in the description below, so be sure and check that out. Hit that see more button. But I loved this. So darling. Okay, so let's go through the steps of putting your fabric pieces onto the towel. Now what I like to use is heat and bond, and you can get this at any craft store or Amazon or any of those things like that. Now I always like to choose the lightest weight heat and bond that I can find. Now heat and bond is a fusible web, and the characteristics of this is very interesting. We have paper on one side. On the opposite side there's this rough texture. This rough texture is your glue, so that's what we're working with here. But the paper is going to help us too, so let me continue and you'll see what I mean. Okay, so we have our heat and bond. What we're going to do is we're going to measure our towel, and we're going to find out how big of a piece that we need. And we have done that here. So we have a strip of fabric, the width of our towel, perfect. But what we've done is we've added just a little extra so that when we turn those edges under, you've got a nice clean edge. So you want your fabric to be about a ½ inch bigger than the towel here. So that works perfect. And you know, let me just mention, this is beautiful Christmas fabric. If you just have a strip of fabric like this would make a great towel trim too. So you don't even have to piece it. It's darling. All right, so we have our fabric here that is cut ½ inch longer than our towel. Then we have our heat and bond, which is cut a ½ inch smaller than your fabric piece here. So we're going to turn our fabric piece over. We're going to place the rough side of the heat and bond down. And as you can see, that gives us about a ½ inch on each edge. We're going to center that. So that's our ½ inch. Then we're going to get our iron. Now the iron, the steam is turned off, so we don't want any moisture here. And it's also on the cotton setting. We're going to take our iron, we're going to place it flat. We're ironing on the paper side. The rough side is towards the fabric. And I'm just going to kind of lift my iron and press this. Now, as you can see, this is sticking really well to our fabric. So it's going to be warm, so let it dry. Now, before I peel the paper off, revealing the glue, what I like to do is use the paper as my crisp edge to turn under my 1/4 inch. So what we're going to do here is leave that paper in place, and then I can just very easily kind of roll the raw edge over the edge of that paper, and you can see that that gives me a nice crisp edge. So, and it makes it nice too, because that paper gives you that edge, and you can see how nice and straight that's going to be. So we're going to go ahead and continue pressing all of our edges under so that all of them have that nice clean edge. Okay, so now I have all of my edges pressed under using that paper as a nice edge to get that crisp line. And as you can see, those are all turned over and it looks wonderful, very simple. Now what I want to do is I'm going to just open this up just a little bit. I'm going to pull this paper off. Now, one of the tricks that I like to do is I like to use just the very tip of my iron. Now, a word of warning here, do not touch the iron to the shiny part of your fabric here. What I'm doing is I'm kind of using that glue to tack that edge under so that it stays. But you don't want your iron to touch the shiny part. The shiny part's the glue now. And that is what is going to adhere it to our towel. All right, so pull that off, but I'm going to go around and I'm just going to very carefully tack my corners, tack my edges, just so that it stays down, so that whenever I sew it to the towel, those edges are nice and secure and I'm not fighting with them. You know, there's nothing more than a piece of fabric that you're sewing starts to bunch up and everything, and that's no fun. This is going to prevent all of that. All right. Got all those edges kind of tacked down with the edge of my iron. So now we're ready to put it on the towel. Now I'm going to use the opposite end of this towel just to demonstrate so that you can see. Okay, so I have my towel laid out here and my piece of fabric. Isn't that lovely? I just think that is so pretty. Now you could use your ruler and put it down here and make sure that this is nice and even, which is probably what I would do. But for demonstration purposes, I'm just going to lay this on here. I'm going to eyeball it. And then as you can see, my edges are nice and straight. I'm going to get my iron and I'm just going to press down, hold it for a couple of seconds, and go all the way across. This is going to fuse the piece to the towel. Let me just scoot this over a little bit so I can get this side. And it's going to enable me to now go put this in my machine and just stitch right on the edge so that it's nice and secure, and then it can be washed, it can be used, and it's going to be completely secure and wonderful. Now we've had a great time here putting all of these fun projects together, using up all of those Christmas scraps. What was your favorite project and how are you going to decorate with these? I would love to hear. Put a comment below. And if you would like more ideas, be sure to check out the video that pops up. This is Fran Morgan with Fabric Cafe. Merry Christmas decorating!